Today I'm going to tell you the story about how I got a comp table in Las Vegas. This is the shortened version because I can tell you a much more detailed long version, but who's going to stick around for that? Now, having a table in Vegas, let alone visiting Vegas and going to a nightclub, was kind of a light bucket list item for me that at some point I thought would never happen. I was late in my 20s and I thought, it's probably too late. It's never going to happen. I don't have enough vacation time and I'm not going to use it to go to Vegas. I'd rather go abroad. And I was just kind of stuck in this, small suburb I lived and just had a job there. And lo and behold, about a year into the pandemic, I got my remote job. So, those who are returning subscribers, I've been traveling around the USA for a while now, living it up, experiencing the world thanks to my remote job. So that was the first thing that set me on this journey. And of course, boom, then I was in Vegas. And so what happened here was I wanted to, make this comp table dinner thing happen. And I was actually in this program that teaches networking, leadership, career, and all this other stuff. And the founder is actually very successful, and he is based in Vegas. And so through the program, I learned how to get a comp table. And the basic idea is, if you are a local, and I decided to stay in Vegas for a while and become a local, you can make this happen easier than you can if you're just like visiting here. And so the long and short of it, I'm not going to give you all the details of the blueprint, but you establish a relationship, a friendship with a host, and show that you're a cool guy, get some familiarity, and then you ask him, not on the first interaction, but eventually you ask, what do I need to do to get a comp table? And he'll usually tell you, and it depends on the host. Some hosts are more stingy than others, but it's typically around bringing out X amount of girls on an industry night. That's a night that where it's usually not busy, it's not a prime night, so it's usually not the weekend. And they do this because some nights, especially in off season, they need to fill up the tables to make the club look bigger. So I had this one host who was really cool. I just had a feeling when I first met him, and I was right about it. And he hooked me up. He said, hey, if you can bring this many girls on this night, I can hook you up with a comp table. And so I was like, bet, game on. Now, bringing those 6 girls is a problem, especially because the hosts prefer local girls, and mostly girls. They don't want you to bring a bunch of guys, and they don't want you to bring tourists. They prefer if you could bring local girls. And so then the game was on, how do you bring them? And thankfully this program I took also taught me about how to network and invite out girls that you meet or you haven't met through building an amazing Instagram and inviting them out. So long and short of it, I get to the day of, I have a few confirms. I'm not really sure if this is going to happen, but there's a chance, There's a few people that they say they're going to come. And then I have another friend who's part of this program who, for him, it's not hard for him to bring out like 3 girls. So he offered like, hey, if you want to do this, like, I can help you once. And I'll bring out like 3 of my female friends. And then you bring out the others. And I knew he could do it. I've seen his social media content, and like he's just better at making female friends than I am. So, point being, the day comes, and then comes down to the wire. Like I would say about 2 hours before, 2-3 hours before, like dominoes, everyone just starts to flake. First one girl, then the other set of girls, and then the friend. Even the friend, he said, hey, my girls actually want to stay inside and do this other stuff, and they don't want to come out anymore. And, I didn't fault him. I get it. It's hard to bring out girls, and especially girls can be very flippant, and, they just chase their feelings and emotions. So, especially if it's a comp table, if they don't want to go, they don't want to go. So I was like, cool, no problem. And he actually, even told me, like, dude, for sure they want to come out Saturday. So, it wasn't like I had no problem with him flaking. Like, it happens. And he said he would bring them Saturday, which he did, by the way. So The long and short of it is, there I was with nothing, and this host was probably expecting me to follow through. And if I didn't, well, then that's another image that he would have imprinted on me, which kind of is not the way I want to go to build momentum with this host. So most guys definitely would have given up here. And I think this is really a story of persistence and perseverance. And I think it's symbolic about, certain traits that I've adopted to, on my pursuit for success. And so guess what? I did not give up. Most guys definitely would have just, said, I would have called it quits. For sure. I know some of these guys, even in this program, for sure they would have been like, okay, that's it. I didn't get my table. In fact, I've seen some guys do this later on. I did not. So what I did was, then I went out to the general public, and I asked them if they would like to join me at a table. And I would ask groups of cute girls. And you got to be careful about this, because out of etiquette, you should not be asking girls who are already on a guest list. You should not be asking girls already in line for a club. The club promoters, the hosts, they don't like that, because you're stealing from their work. And I heard you can even get banned for doing that. So I was very careful with that. And long and short of it is, it actually didn't take long. I was used to rejection. It hurts slightly, but it still hurts a bit. And I was expecting I had to go through a lot, but I would say I probably approached like 4 groups, and then I had enough. And this one group was this, group of blondes, and most of them were part of a family. I got to know them later, just like chatting and hearing where they're from, and me telling them my story. And they were down, and lo and behold, long and short of it is, I was able to get into the club, get my comp table with these girls, and it's a win-win situation. Here I was thinking that, maybe the girls wouldn't feel like it was worth it, and it was just me, but they loved it. They were very appreciative. They were not from the area, so they probably wouldn't have gotten the table on their own. And these tables at these clubs are not cheap. They're like thousands of dollars, and then they go up to, tens of thousands of dollars if you want the best seat on the best night. And so I got a comp table. It came with, I think 1 bottle of free drinks, and it was fantastic. Sometimes you do get bumped if you're there and it's a busy night, but it wasn't that crazy of a night. I had the table the whole night, and they just loved it. They would have probably been in general assembly, or what's it called, general attendance, if it wasn't for me. And so they're super appreciative of that. And so it really was a win-win situation. We just kind of danced, partied. I let them have their fun. And that was my first comp table experience. It really was a bucket list achievement. There were times where I would fantasize about, maybe going to Las Vegas, seeing how crazy and amazing and, awesome it would be to be in a nightclub, and then even being at a table in a nightclub. Oh, that would be like the total badass move. And then now that I'm here and I've been there so often, a lot of those things, they look big from afar, but up close, after you've seen it a lot of times, a lot of the clubs are small. At least for me, they're smaller than you think. If you go for the first time, they're gonna look huge. But having gone enough times that I know the whole map and layout, they're kind of like, everything's very comfortable and familiar to me now, even though they're scary and big back when I never went. So it's just interesting how that works. It's big Las Vegas, but then, when I'm there, I'm kind of getting a handle for it. So that's my first nightclub comp table experience. And my second one was actually just 1-2 days later, when it was a weekend. And guess what happened? The girls I brought out from the first night, I invited them the second night, and one set of them, the big set, they showed up. And then the guy who wasn't there the first night, he came through this time, and this time it was his host that he had a relationship with that hooked us up at a different nightclub. So the first one was Hakkasan, which is pretty nice, pretty good club. The second one was Omnia, which is a nicer club and harder to get into on the weekends. And that's debatable. I think Hakkasan's also nicer depending on who you compare it to. I mean, all the clubs are actually pretty nice when I think about it. It's subjective which one's better. But the point is, that was my second experience, and you know, it taught me that it is possible if you persevere. It was a lot of work. It was scary. I didn't want to do it like forever, but I wanted to at least do it once, and I accomplished it. I'm super happy and proud of myself for doing it. The second time, I could go into a whole story about that night as well, but what I can say in a nutshell was the girls I brought were super thankful, especially because me and them, we both saw the line that night, and it went all the way out. It roped around. It went outside of the hotel onto the street and roped around the building. And they asked me, like, how long do you think those people were waiting for, and how long do you think it'll take them to get in? And since I had been in that line multiple times, I told them they probably got here at least at 9:45, and they'll probably have to wait about an hour to get in. And so they were super thankful. We got to take a shortcut straight through the table line, and it was probably like a 2-minute process to get in because we have a table. Now the thing is, they did have to wait because my friend and his girls were late. My girls, and this is nothing to do with me, they just happened to be very punctual girls just like myself. We showed up on the dot when we were supposed to at 10:30 when the place opens. So I think when we were finally ready to get in, because you want to come in with all the girls at the same time, I think it was probably around like 11:15, but none of them really seemed to mind. They were super thankful that they didn't have to wait in that general attendance line, and they got a table and they got a blast. So it was amazing. I mean, there were certain things I was a little bit down about or disappointed about, because you know, there's different tables, and some tables are much farther away from the DJ than others, and so both of my tables were still fun tables, and I didn't see anyone really complaining at all. And that's probably also why we didn't get bumped either of those nights at all, because of the fact that we were kind of farther away, and there's more tables over there. But I learned another valuable lesson. Don't beat yourself up about it if everyone else is having a good time. Not a single person complained to me, at least out loud, saying that these tables were too far away from the DJ and whatnot. And so they all had a fun time. It was a win-win-win situation. Everyone was grateful, and that was basically it. So that's my story. I can go into a lot more detail, but that's the short version of me getting a bucket list thing off the bucket list in Las Vegas. Will I do it again? Can I do it again? Possibly. But yeah, that's it. That's the story, and I'll see you in the next video.